let's first talk about growing up as a kid with your mom and your father and how rough your father was. And this is where this whole great foundation starts with. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, when I grew up as a kid, I was very insecure. I had no confidence in myself. I was very nervous. And I thought, basically, this is the way I was born.
Even though you were such a great athlete, huh?
Well, I played baseball, but I was too shy to go out for my high school baseball team in my freshman year because I didn't think I'd make it. I mean, I had no confidence. And I just thought I was born with all these feelings. Played hooky from school because I was afraid to go to school because I didn't think I knew the word. I mean, I look back now and I can just shake my head because I didn't enjoy my school time years like a lot of the kids talk about nowadays, unfortunately. And then really, if you fast forward, I went through most of my baseball career just feeling the same way, but I was lucky enough to be able to play baseball. And once I realized I could play baseball, my confidence would be like this, depending on how well I did that day. And then I went to a seminar with my wife, and this was right before my daughter Andrea was born in '95, believe it or not, that far down the road. And I realized it was a self-help. Actually, let me tell you this. My wife is 8+ months pregnant with Andrea, and she says, "You want to go to this seminar with me?" Well, I'm going to say yes to anything she asked me at that point in time. And we went. And I found myself, and they split us up. They put us in groups, but I wasn't in my wife's group. And I find myself on day 3 of this 4-day seminar standing in front of perfect strangers just crying my eyes out.
Really?
As
Wow.
I started to realize that these feelings that I was having and that were always haunting me, so to speak, were caused by the fear that my dad brought into that house by what he was doing to my mom. And I knew what was going on, but I never connected the fact that my feelings had a lot to do with what he was doing. And then once I realized that this was the reason for feeling the way I did, then I felt free to talk about it because I never really shared it with Allie. And trust me, it was not easy not sharing stuff with her, because she's one of 16 kids. She didn't know from domestic violence, from anything, although she did before we after we met, she worked on this rape hotline when we were in Atlanta. And, so she got a pretty good sense of the tie-in there. So once I found out that, my dad's behavior in the house was causing me to feel the way I felt, I felt free. I really did. And we started our foundation.
When the foundation began, how did you get that going? I mean, I hadn't heard of, was there a Safe at Home, a similar kind of foundation for domestic abuse prior to you making this a nationwide thing in the late 90s when you became a Yankee manager, had that great profile that you could get this message out there? Was there, in the 60s, was there something along, probably not, right? You couldn't find, if a kid was part of that in a family, where was he going to turn to, say, 30, 40 years ago, right?
Well, you're right. I mean, if I had a place to go at that time to share it, because I never told any of my friends or anything what was happening. If I saw my dad's car in front of the house when I had walked home from school, I would go to somebody else's house until he left for work, because he worked nights. He was a policeman, and he worked nights. He was a plainclothesman. But when we started our foundation, when we got to New York, Allie said, "Well, what charity are we going to get involved in?" I said, "How about domestic violence?" And this was shortly after this seminar, and she was a little surprised because I never talked about it, never really wanted to talk about it. And then it was her idea. And my daughter, Tina, who was an older daughter, they sort of formulated this idea to do it through education. And that's why what we do with the money we raise is put safe rooms in schools where we have a master's level counselor and give these kids a place to go. It's part of the curriculum. Give these kids a place to go where they can understand it's not their fault, they're not alone, and to feel like they can have a bright future. And we give them the tools to help deal with what's going on in their lives.